I'm 2 months away from my first Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition, and I'm 1 month into a 3-month training camp. So in this video, I'm just going to talk a bit about how I'm feeling at the minute and what my experience of the training camp has been like. So why am I making a big deal of this? It's just a competition. Well, I decided to make it a big deal because this competition for me is really about pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. I've typically avoided competition in my life when I've felt like I haven't had a strong chance of winning. So in things like academics, I threw myself into competition, but that's because I knew that I had a good chance of doing well and coming out on top. And it was the same for things like public speaking. I knew I had a good chance of doing well. But in sports, I often avoided competition, and that was from a sense of not feeling good enough. But with this competition, I decided to do something different. Instead of waiting until I felt good enough to sign up, instead I signed up for the competition and then decided that I'd become good enough to compete. And right now, 2 months out from the competition, I don't feel that confident about my chances, to be honest. I know I'm probably not going to get smashed at the competition, but at the same time, I don't feel like I've got a great chance of winning. But I feel like 2 months is still long enough time for me to become good enough. There's been a kind of balance of not focusing too much on the end goal, on winning, on trying to win, and instead focusing on loving the process. I've been reading this book, Chop Wood, Carry Water, which talks all about this, and the book says you shouldn't worry at all about winning or about what's at the end. Instead, you should put all of your attention into loving the process of chopping wood and carrying water, which is just the process that you need to follow in order to get to your destination. And so for this competition, the chop wood, carry water is just me showing up to training, me doing my strength and conditioning and eating good and sleeping good. Those are the things that are within my control, and that's the process for me to fall in love with. And I feel like I really am falling in love with the process, which is quite beautiful. Like, I'm loving showing up to the gym early to train. I'm really loving the sparring, throwing myself into sparring and sparring with different people. And I love the feeling of walking out of the gym and breathing in the fresh air and tasting my chocolate milk. So yeah, it's been really, really good. And competition and this training camp has been so good for my life. It's really given me a sense of purpose, something to work towards, and everything in my life has been infused with this extra layer of meaning. So the food I eat, how long I sleep for, how I look after my body, it all has an extra sense of purpose now that I'm working towards this competition. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned in this training camp is that the goal is not to win as much as possible, it's to learn as much as possible. So at times I have been getting quite frustrated in training, and it's usually when I'm getting smashed, when I'm getting smashed by people who've been training for less time than me. Then I get these thoughts in my head like, oh, I shouldn't be getting smashed, like I should be beating these people, like I've been training for so long, I should be smashing these people by now. And when I notice myself getting into those thoughts, that's when I remind myself, the goal is not to win as much as possible, it's to learn as much as possible. Because if you're winning all the time, you're probably not learning much. Whereas if you focus on learning, then even when you're getting smashed, you can be benefiting from it, you can be winning. Because when I notice myself falling into the frustration, then when I'm getting smashed in sparring, then I just tell myself, like, what's one thing that I can learn from this? Like, I'm obviously doing something wrong, so what can I take away, and what can I do even better next time? And just that shift in mindset has been really, really helpful to help me keep motivated and to keep going, to not get so frustrated with training. And yeah, again, I think there's this kind of balance, like, between trying to win and trying to learn. Like trying to win, it is important at times. Like, obviously when I go to the competition, I'm going to try to win. I'm not just going to try to be learning as much as possible during the competition. And that desire to win it can give you a bit of an extra drive. Even when you're training just with training partners, it can be helpful. So again, there's some balance to be found in that, but this mindset of trying to learn as much as possible in training has really helped me. The thing I've been struggling most with is my weight. So I'm right at the bottom of my weight category, about 5 kilos under, and I'm trying to put on weight so that I'm not at a massive disadvantage compared to people at the top of the weight category. But I've been struggling. So in the first 3 weeks, I think I had like 2 quite good weeks of eating, and then I had 1 not so good week, and that means I haven't put on as much weight as I wanted to. And yeah, it's quite hard, like coming close to the competition and seeing like, oh, like I've still got so much more weight to put on if I want to get to the top, which I don't think I'm going to get to the top. So I've just kind of had to accept I've got to do what I can. But yeah, again, it's come back to like the process. So this week I've just focused on the process, started tracking my calories and just set like a reasonable goal for each day, and I've stuck to that, and I think that will be helpful to keep me going for the rest of training camp, just focusing on the process, on yeah, following the process, trusting the process, loving the process, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to the rest of this training camp and to competing in 2 months' time.